Thank you. I appreciate the warm welcome on a Friday afternoon, the last session of LASCON. Thank you for being here. I'm curious, what drove you to sit in your seat right now? So, yes, Chad.
I just came back from McAfee conference last week, and the diversity was very minimal. So, that's a gap.
Yeah, you noticed the gender gap or just the diversity gap as well. Yeah, at the McAfee conference last week. Thanks for sharing. Who else? Yes.
Eternal optimism. Surely one of these talks.
Surely one of these talks will be good. Is that it? Love it. Too bad it's being recorded right now. It's a great way to start. Well, no pressure on me, right, to give you a key takeaway and a key content. So thanks again for you all being here. I appreciate it. As she said, my name is Jessica Patterson. I recently moved from Houston, Texas in May of this past year. I'll talk a little bit more about my background and what inspired me to create this talk, to have a conversation on why cultivating and creating community, whether that's within your organization or in your city, whatever you're passionate about, the importance of community and how that can transform your life and your career. This is one of my favorite quotes. Leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders. And I feel like it's essential in the industry of technology, especially with the use of social media and everyone having personal platforms or wanting to be the most retweeted on Twitter, that everyone just wants more followers, whether that's to gain attention, notoriety, thought leadership. Yet really what we're out to create, myself as well as a group of people in Own IT, is more leaders. So a little bit about my experience and background. I graduated from Stephen F. Austin State University in East Texas. How many of you have heard of it? Yeah, raise your hand, very few, awesome. And while I was there, I was actually named Miss University, which was an award from the Alumni Association for service, for involvement, for leadership. Essentially, I was Little Miss Overachiever. I wanted to be in a lot of different groups. If you've been to Nacogdoches, Texas, you know that there's not much to do outside of the piney woods. So getting involved was really important to me. And it was through that involvement that right after college, when I graduated, I traveled for a sorority as a leadership consultant. Now you may be thinking, I have no idea what that role entails. I'd be happy to tell you shortly. Essentially, I was in organizational development and a leadership coach. So I would live out of a suitcase for 3.5 months at a time, and I was on a 2-year contract. So imagine taking your life, putting it in a carry-on, as well as one checked bag, and traveling the country. And that experience allowed me to visit 28 different states, get to know a lot of people, learn how to adapt to my surroundings quickly. I didn't have a rental car, I didn't have hotel rooms, I was surviving and thriving, and it was a really neat experience. But right after that, going from college to being a sorority and a leadership consultant, which was a very competitive role to get, I was looking for more of a corporate job. In Houston, my role that I was looking for was a business development manager. And that's the role that I got and how I got in the cybersecurity industry, was through a company called Checkpoint Software. Raise your hand if you've heard of it or understand and know what a firewall is. Most people in the security industry do. So I went to New York for 4 months where they put us in an international program and were able to learn more about technology. I didn't have a technical background. I had a scientific mind. I tutored biology. I was also involved in organizations and wanted to be a change management consultant, but didn't know how to piece it all together until Checkpoint Software came. But it was through my experience at Checkpoint Software, getting involved in the industry 4 years ago, that I realized that there wasn't much of a community around me. And so I joined organizations like InfraGard, which is the FBI in the public and private sector, focusing on security, that alliance, as well as ISSA, and even spoke at the Houston Cybersecurity Conference in March of this past year, mainly on diversity and inclusion and leadership initiatives. But I found that to be really important. I was youthful and entry level in cybersecurity. I I didn't have the technical experience nor the mentors that I wanted, and I would go to different women in technology groups or women in cybersecurity happy hour, but I was ready for something more. I wanted to learn and to grow professionally and also thrive as a leader. And the reason I moved to Austin was to work for a company called Optiv, which is a cybersecurity consulting firm that focuses, more than just firewall and endpoint and cloud security. Really provides a bigger picture and more holistic approach to the industry. So that's the story of my journey. And what it looked like physically was, here's me in my new hire program in New York, very excited, crying nearly every other day because I didn't know what a LAN was, hot pitch, exactly, you know where I'm going with that. Then I was in Houston, I was looking for a mentor, I couldn't find, right, and really struggled. And then randomly I became a yoga teacher. Now I say randomly, yet it was after my first year in the industry that I noticed I couldn't be who I was in the workplace as I was in the yoga studio. The fun, happy Italian leader who's energetic. One of my first coworkers in the industry told me that happy people in business are seen as dumb, as well as I needed to learn how to temper my energy and my personality if I wanted to be taken seriously. And I just knew that that was wrong, and that experience, I would take that and fuel and create something amazing for someone else getting into the industry, being new, to help mentor, coach, and lift them up. So I combined all of that experience, landed in Austin, Texas in May, because I wanted to be a greater contribution to the industry and really have the client's view in mind versus focusing on selling, right, my individual technology. But that all called me to believe in this. 3 different values, and that's really the promise of my talk, is giving you tools of learning how to be authentic, being confident, as well as causing transformation, acting. So here's our agenda today. Quick introduction. This will be more of a workshop type talk, because if you are like me, which I know that's true, late afternoon, I get bored if I'm not participating or doodling or on technology. So we're going to do some activities where I will invite you to use your technology. We'll go into the why. The why community is important, why diversity matters at a conference, what it looks like for future leaders in the industry. We'll go into the what, how do you really create and cultivate community? Where does that start? And then how to get involved, mentor, and cause action. And I'll share and close with the Own IT overview, which is the nonprofit that I'm launching, the Global Initiative for Diversity and Leadership in Technology. So just to be clear, we're not having a conversation around like men versus women in the workplace. Any gender bashing, right? It's not a political conversation, and it's also not emotional about blame, shame, guilt, etc. But what we are creating is a conversation around a global movement for all people. I want to pause on and take note of that, because in my experience, I noticed most of the most successful leaders that I met with in technology who were women didn't see themselves based on their gender in their leadership. So they would go to women in technologies groups, maybe not get what they wanted to about it. So we're taking a totally different approach in addressing diversity for women and minorities and all people holistically as a community. And I want to live in a world in 50 years whether it's my daughter or grandchildren who are female or minority, et cetera, can be in cybersecurity and actually reflect, like be in an industry that reflects the world that they work in, to allow for more creativity, to allow for problem solving, and more importantly, community, just people. What we're also having a conversation around is we'll do some personal and professional development. This is really inspired because my mom's a teacher and I'm a big leadership nerd as well, and I'll claim that. And what we're out to create overall is the possibility of changing the industry dynamic from 11% today to 25% by 2025 and 50% by 2050. So that's a lifetime goal for women and minorities to have, right, equality in the workplace. So why does this matter? Well, it matters because of confidence and connection. I feel like most people especially in IT and in cybersecurity, sometimes lack confidence. And that's actually how I started forming and launching Own IT. Was I lacked confidence as an industry professional. I saw people coming in the industry that were struggling as well, and that's what we bonded over. We bonded over sharing in our struggles. And it was through the tools and access of yoga, right, of being fully authentic and doing self-reflection, that brought my attention to, right, the bigger challenge that we're out to create. And it's also about connection. We live in a connected world with all of our devices. In security, you know that's the same concern is right, device connectivity, IoT, data analytics, you name it. Yet as people and human beings and organizational leaders, this is what we're focused on and what we're trying to build and really elevate the conversation around. So in your experience, how do you define community? So everyone take out their phones or a piece of paper. Okay, so write down what community means to you. And I'll give you a couple minutes. What does community mean to you? Raise your hand if you need more time. All right, the next question is, what communities do you belong to? And think outside of, right, your professional life. What communities do you belong to? Could be your family, sports teams, religious organizations, service groups. And the third question is, where's an area or a community that you would like to grow into? Where is a community that you would like to grow into? For example, for me, it's the Austin information security community. Raise your hand if you need more time. Okay, now everyone's going to get a partner. So go ahead and move and get a partner right now. And stand up if you don't have a partner. Do you need a partner? Yes. You want to go ahead and go to the group in the back. Perfect. Okay, so now you're going to share with your partner. All right, one person will share first, and then the other one will have time to share as well. Since we have a group of 3, right, we'll take that time. So now you're going to share what community means to you, what communities you belong to, and what's a community that you want to grow in. So person A, like one person be awesome, right, and the other person be amazing. So pick which one you are. Okay, so amazing, you're going to share first. What community means to you? I'll give you a minute. Go. Yeah, so go ahead and share numbers 1 through 3, what community means to you. Yeah, 1 through 3.
Yeah, we have almost 1,000 members, but it is very much like it's just like most of your so it's getting more energy and how we do that without you.
And if you haven't already switched, go ahead and switch.
Community is shared passions and commitments, but not necessarily values. So you have shared passions and commitments to something. You might say have the same sort of values. You can have differences. You have a shared passion.
No, you're fine. We're doing a group activity right now. Feel free to have a seat and then we'll bring it all back together. All right, does anyone need any more time? Raise your hand if you need more time. Y'all need more time? Okay, I'll give y'all another minute.
And then everybody's playing. That's one thing that is supposed to be. But there is that. You don't get that outside. And then the light. Sports teams.
You should be through all three of them. Have you all shared? Y'all are still chatting? Okay, be essential. I'll give you one more minute. All right, go ahead and wrap it up. Okay, now we're going to have an opportunity to share. Who would like to share what community means to them? Who would like to share what community means to them? And you can just speak since we're in a small group. Yeah, you don't have to raise your hand. Go ahead.
I said community is people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm involved with the military community. And I would like to get more involved with military veterans.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Who else? Yes. And what's your name?
Dustin.
Thanks, Dustin.
Shared passions and commitments, and not values.
Shared passions, shared commitments,
That's the same
values.
sort of values. Shared passion.
Yeah. Repeat that again so I get it. A shared passion and commitment, yet not necessarily the same values. Views or values. Neat. Thank you. Yeah, it seems that way. Well, and that's a perfect opportunity. Now we'll actually define it according to the dictionary. Insert click moment. Here we go. It's a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. It's also a feeling or a fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, or goals. And while I was doing this exercise myself, I noticed and was able to appreciate how many communities that I'm actually a part of. Because I feel like it's so common in our industry and even in our day-to-day lives to get so self-absorbed. I know in my experience of what's going on or who I'm working with moment to moment, right? In my case, it's the clients that I support and their challenges around cybersecurity, when really you're a part of a much bigger net and a much bigger picture. So this is a picture of the Fearless Girl. That was a statue installed on Wall Street. And the intention behind it was really, right, the young female standing up to the Wall Street bull and challenging traditional values. Well, according to the study for the Center of Cybersecurity Safety and Education that was released in 2017 for Information Security Workforce, although the participation in the survey increased this year, still the number of women that are in this industry is consistently at 11%. And it was also a fact that women on boards have reduced by 6% this year. So although it seems even like industry buzzwords, right, diversity, inclusion, or leadership, or women in technology, we as a community and as a world aren't doing what it takes to make a difference for other people. And that's one of my hopeful takeaways for you today, is that you're able to take an action in an authentic and confident and transformative way to do and create that community, starting with yourself. So this is my common opinion of women in the workplace, or in my opinion, women in sales, because that's my profession, is you're either Elle Woods, pretty and all put together and stereotype for not knowing, right, what you're talking about, especially in the industry, or you're like a Glenn Close, a heartless, type A, cold-blooded killer. And this isn't true. This is what it really looks like to be a female in cybersecurity. All different shapes and sizes, skills and backgrounds, technical or more business-minded. There's a whole variety in the community and world that's possible for the future of the cybersecurity industry. And if you would have asked me 10 years ago if I would be a cybersecurity professional, I would look at you like you were absolutely insane. I changed my major in college because I was writing my own website code and I couldn't stand it. I did not like computer science. And it's not necessarily funny, yet oddly coincidental that I could find a home and a passion for cybersecurity, specifically around organizational change management and business strategy and all high level, important and critical, right, alignment for business initiatives in IT as a career that I enjoy. And I want people, little girls, little boys, everyone in the industry, the next generation of leaders, to know that it's possible for them to be in cybersecurity as well and to be successful. I'm going to share some key findings around, what's the need for community, really why. Like I mentioned, this survey and report from the Global Information Security Workplace. So here are some of the findings: that women globally underrepresented the cybersecurity by 11%. And that's less than the entire workforce. Globally, men are 4 times more likely to hold C-level positions and 9 times more likely to hold management positions than women. 51% of women report varieties of various forms of discrimination in the cybersecurity workforce. Women who feel valued in the workplace also benefited from leadership development programs in greater numbers than women who felt undervalued, right? So these programs have to be in place within organizations and communities. As well as in 2016, no matter what level of career females in cybersecurity, we all made less money. So what do we do about it? How do we create and cultivate a community for women and minorities and people in the industry? Well, it all comes from an activity called the circle of knowing what you want. So especially in your community, professionally. So take out your phone again, or that sheet of paper, and you're going to draw a circle. And even if you don't have the ability to draw a circle on your phone, right, you can write yes and then write no. So what you want to create and what you don't want. So, in community, excuse me, in community specifically for diversity and for leadership. Okay, so if you have a sheet of paper and you've drawn a circle, you're going to write everything that you want in your community in information security and IT and in cybersecurity inside of the circle. And then you're going to write everything on the outside of the circle that you don't want. And if you have a phone, right, and aren't using a sheet of paper, write yes, what you want in community, and then no, follow what you don't want. So now you'll each have a few minutes to share. And whenever you're sharing, the speaker, you speak and everyone else listens. So no back and forth, okay? So you just speak and you share on what you want and on what you don't want. So go ahead and start on what you don't want. Pick the person who's going to start. All right, and share what you don't want and what you do want. All right, let's bring it back together. Who will share what you want and what you don't want in your community? I know, this is bold, sharing what you want, declaring what you're for. Yeah, so it sounds like you have that positive outlook. And I would invite you to look at what you're no for. And you could do this activity for any area of your life, your finances, etc., relationships, conversation with a manager. You do this all the time and get really clear on what you don't want, so that way you can draw that line and not be for it.
Well, I I do want communication, I just don't want non-communication in publishing.
Yeah. Or non-action. Is that there too? Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Round of applause for Vanny. Thanks for sharing.
Conference. That's what it looks like.
Awesome.
No, that's not so.
Oh, you're talking about the diversity of it. The diversity of it. Yeah. Well, that's what you would grow. You would grow the diversity of it. Yeah. And how do you go about doing that? You get clear on like what you want. Yeah. And that could look like reaching out to women and minorities or something of that nature. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Round of applause. Appreciate it. Everyone deserves a little hand clap. I sometimes am walking down, downtown Austin, give myself a clap like, you're doing a good job, doing a good job. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Round of applause. Yeah, this activity is so good to get you clear on because you notice that blame and blockers and shame, it's throughout the industry and definitely out technology, right? Especially if it's about a tool, it's not the human's fault, right? Who didn't configure it properly, it's the vendor and the technology, right? So I often joke that if technology didn't break, we all wouldn't have a job, right, to fix it or solve the problem. But I want to share mine with you too, like what I was for in my community and not for. Yeah, what I'm for is global impact and service and leadership, diversity, teamwork, innovation, trust. Huge. And what I'm not for is isolation, people feeling like they're not welcome or not contributed to. Uncertainty, fear of change, self-doubt, dishonesty, scarcity. A lot of this group and this movement for me was really inspired by my own experience. My years 2 and 3 for me in the industry, I was working with 2 senior women and they weren't empowering. Really, to say it straight, I felt like I was being bullied. And it was one of this, I'm a very positive person, as you can tell. It was a very challenging time. And while I was going through and that workplace dynamic of, wait, you can't be a female sharing a table and having a conversation together? What is going on with this? I knew that I was experiencing that to be able to contribute and empathize with someone else. And more importantly, live in a world where someone's a stand for saying, actually, that's not what I'm for. My community is, I'm not for, saying how I'm better or have more certifications or been in the industry for more decades than anyone else. We're all people and we're all after the same common goal. So we talked about the why community, how we define it, why it's important. Talked about the what we're committed to, what we want as what we stand for and what we're not a stand for. And now we talk about how. How do we create and cultivate a community that's diverse and full of leaders in the industry? And people that are excited for innovation and continually growing and change, whether that's for themselves, but more importantly for other people. So who has an idea? How are we going to start? Well, I'm a firm believer of starting local, especially being in Texas. It's where do you start this? There's a big world of problems, specifically for me in the industry and especially in setting the big possibility of 50%, changing the entire industry dynamic by 2050. Many people have said, Jessica, that's a great idea. How's it going to happen? Or some women in the industry who I really admire have said, it's not going to change. And I don't believe that. I don't think it has to stay the same, just like our technologies, just like our organizations. It will evolve as long as we choose to and we individually make a difference. When I say start locally, start with your organizations, and what you can currently do within your teams to create community, yet even with your family members. I come from a big Italian Brady Bunch family and have cousins that are teenagers in elementary school. I often share that I work in the cybersecurity industry with them. And there's something about sharing and giving them that awareness of the avenue, whether they're more technical or business minded, that they can evolve and do that and actually be interested, not overwhelmed with fear, uncertainty, and doubt and hackers and if that's cool or not. Some local groups that I thought of through my experience was the Austin Technology Council, the Austin Women in Technology, Women Who Code, Own It Austin that I'm leading up. We had our first meeting last week, A CISO of a Fortune 50 organization was there. It was standing room only. It was absolutely amazing. So that's something that I hope you can all be a part of, just to be in the work of sharing around diversity and around leadership and the need for it in our industry. Because I feel like if we focus on the supply chain, of course, of it, as well as the leadership and personal development, with those two headline topics of let's talk about diversity and leadership for all people, entry levels to executives, that we eventually will solve the challenge of creating a community industry-wide that's welcoming and open and to other people. And then from a national perspective, as you're all well aware of, OWASP, ISSA, ISC Squared, InfraGard, start there and reach out and support other women people in the industry. I mean, think about who you could mentor. I know that I could mentor, although I've been in the industry for 4 years. I had a friend who mentioned that's like a bachelor's degree in the cybersecurity industry. And I'm like, you know what? That is. Like I could be a mentor for entry-level professionals. And I could also be mentored by so many other people ahead of me. And I feel like it's that generational gap where we can really embrace each other versus saying, I've been in the industry 2 decades, mainframe conversations, ... You know where I'm going with it, right? When I talk about dial-up as well as flip phones, and more focused on emerging technologies and innovation as a millennial. So instead of making each other wrong for where we're at or our experience levels, let's really unite and have that confidence and that connection. All through authenticity, confidence, and transformation. So that's what I'm calling for, is for people to act. Get the acronym ACT. Not a marketing pro, but that's pretty good. So I'll take a gold star for that. So what's your takeaway? How are you going to act? How can you yourself be more authentic? How can you impact the education system? How can you be more confident and cause transformation within yourself, for your family, for your organization that you serve, for your local information security community, and even worldwide? So let's actually pause with that question and write down the one thing that you want to do as a takeaway from this talk. The one thing you want to take action on for diversity and for leadership in the industry, as well as for yourself. And it could look like carving out once a month to join that philosophy, right, and education book club. Yeah, find people that you can relate to.
Yeah.
And I also invite you to find someone you're completely opposite from. Whether you want to learn soft skills, leadership skills, say, wow, I've identified that you could really teach me something about a hackers association, right? And then get new perspective. Great point. So I want to share briefly about the Global Initiative for Diversity and Leadership. How I'm addressing it is through an organization called Own It. The purpose of Own It will be, of course, to create that possibility of an equivalent workforce. It'll also be to spin up quarterly forums in communities as well as corporations worldwide. And it looks like 4 different events, because most people, especially leaders in technology, we're all overwhelmed, and there's a lot of digital noise. We also have a lot of personal responsibility and professional responsibility. So these are the 4 themes. If you'd like to connect with me about Own It movement and what we're standing for diversity and leadership in Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at own_IT_movement. Email me at weownitmovement@gmail.com, or find me, Jessica Patterson, at Jess V. Patterson on Twitter and Instagram as well. There's opportunities to get involved on the leadership team. I'll breeze through that. A board of advisors that's forming here in Austin. I'll finish with one quote. It's our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And you playing small and does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people will feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And that's what we're doing with diversity and leadership in the industry. And I want you to know that it starts with you. And I hope moving forward that you own it. And that's it.
Do we have any questions?
a quick gratitude post to all my friends. I learned this from Claire Nelson, who's speaking at this time as well here. These are all the people I want to thank my cute puppy for letting me speak all the time to her. Anyways, and then some industry leaders, Maya Angelo and whatnot. I just love this concept and idea. That's it. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for having me.